The war did not begin at the borders. East dawn rose red, not with the promise of morning, but with the glow of furnaces and missile trails cutting through low clouds. Cities that had stood for centuries woke to sirens instead of prayers, and the ground trembled as if the earth itself had chosen a side. The eastern armies moved like a living storm, columns of armor rolling across plains, banners burning with symbols forged in steel and belief. Fire was not a weapon to them, it was language. Far to the west, the first reports arrived as whispers. Communication lines flickered. Satellites vanished one by one. Then the smoke appeared on the horizon, darkening sunsets that had once been peaceful. The Western nations had believed distance was protection, that oceans and treaties were walls strong enough to hold back history. They were wrong. When the refugees arrived, faces gray with ash, eyes hollow with stories they could not finish, the West understood too late that the war had already crossed every line. The eastern fire consumed everything in its path. Forests became skeletons overnight. Rivers boiled with debris and oil. Entire regiments vanished under rolling barrages that turned land into molten scars. Soldiers learned that survival depended not on courage, but on movement. Stop, and the fire found you. Yet within the inferno, legends were born. Units that held collapsing fronts for hours that felt like years. Medics who ran through bombardment to pull strangers from rubble. Pilots who flew damaged machines until the engines failed simply to delay the inevitable. As the fire spread, the West prepared not with flames, but with endurance. Old weapons were dragged from storage, rebuilt, modernized, renamed. The West did not burn quickly, it hardened. Ash fell over its cities like gray snow, coating streets and rooftops. A reminder that destruction did not need to be loud to be complete. The ash settled into lungs, into homes, into history. It marked the beginning of a different kind of war, one of attrition, sacrifice, and waiting. The first major clash between East and West occurred on a shattered plateau once known for its farmland. The eastern advance arrived at dawn, fire units forming blazing lines across the horizon. The Western forces waited in silence, concealed beneath camouflage and smoke. When the fire came, it came screaming. But the West did not retreat. It absorbed the blow, trench by trench, position by position, paying for every meter with blood and time. The plateau did not belong to either side by nightfall. Weeks turned into months. Fire met ash everywhere. In the East, victory was measured by territory gained. In the West, survival became triumph. Cities in the East glowed endlessly, fueled by industry and ideology, while Western cities dimmed, conserving power, rationing hope. Children learned the sound of aircraft before they learned songs. Old men stood watch at night, listening to distant thunder that was not weather. Then the fire began to falter. Machines broke faster than they could be replaced. Soldiers who had marched believing the war would end quickly now fought in landscapes that no longer resembled maps. The fire still burned, but it burned unevenly, unpredictably. Meanwhile, the ash in the West hardened into resolve. The fire struck directly. The West learned to bend. Where it burned itself out, the West struck back, not with flame, but with precision. The turning point came during a night so dark, it seemed the stars had abandoned the world. The Eastern Command launched one final massive offensive, a storm of fire meant to end resistance forever. Missiles rose, artillery thundered. The sky turned white, but the West had prepared for this night. Defenses activated in layers, countermeasures bloomed like artificial constellations. The fire met resistance it could not overwhelm, and for the first time the Eastern advance stopped. Not because it was defeated, but because it could not move forward. When dawn came, it revealed a battlefield coated in ash and scorched metal, silent except for the wind. No banners flew, no victory was declared. The fire still smoldered in the East and the ash still drifted in the West, but something fundamental had changed. The war was no longer about conquest. It was about endurance, about which side could survive what it had unleashed. Years later, historians would argue about who won. Borders would shift, names would change, monuments would rise in places where nothing grew. But those who lived through it would remember the truth. The world had been reshaped not by triumph, but by consequence. Eastern fire had proven unstoppable but unsustainable. Western ash had seemed weak, but it endured. And in the silence that followed the last battle, the land itself bore witness, scarred, quiet, and forever changed by the day fire met ash.